Well, I think to really give you like the full Shipley experience, you have to actually see and hear him saying these things.
Oh boy,
because he's he's got a stage presence.
He was on, he's like he was on some like shitty alt-right podcast too.
Yeah. I don't remember what that was, but
we don't want to give them any listens.
I do remember it made waves when he was on there because he was saying truly deranged things.
Yeah.
So the videos I have here, you may be shocked to hear this, but the Iowa House of Representatives website sucks ass for getting video.
Oh, I am aware.
Yeah, it sucks ass.
The few times where I've actually done work for the podcast.
I was trying to just rip the video because they talked about this bill in particular for like 3 hours. And I was going to just take the whole video and we could just like watch different parts of it. But I just could not get the file off of their fucking website. So this is like me recording my screen and getting the clips I wanted. So here is Jeff introducing his amendment to the bill.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Van Buren, Representative Shipley, on Amendment H 8045.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and ladies and gentlemen of the Iowa House. I know this is an emotionally charged topic with a lot of the lives on the line. There are a lot of Iowans who suffer from gender dysphoria and related illnesses, so I would like to start by calling upon the Holy Spirit to be with us and guide us during this discussion for the benefit and uplifting of all Iowans.
They all do this false concern shit.
Yeah. He's wearing a really stupid outfit. I want to highlight. He's got a white shirt, a plum jacket, and a peach tie.
Yeah.
He's such a worm. Like he couches this in like, I'm just so concerned for all these people that have this horrible mental disease. We need to all pray for them.
Yeah. Kristi Noem in South Dakota just passed a similar bill and had a very similar thing to say when they were asking about, all the, people this is negatively going to affect. And I can't remember I think she said, like, I'm going to pray for them or something.
Yeah, they were like, what about the, like, astronomical rates of suicide and depression in, like, trans people because of this stuff? And she was like, I'll pray for them.
Hey, that'll do it.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest concern here, right, is that denying trans children any sort of medical care is like going to drive their rates of suicide up a lot, because that's just like what happens.
Yeah, and it's already so bad.
Already
it's that 40% of people will attempt or succeed, and it's just like horrific. Like, why does this guy have a Journeys bag?
Yeah. That's pretty funny too.
There's a guy standing behind him who has like a brand new pair of like sneakers and a Journeys bag.
Yeah, he just came to work from the mall.
It's Fred Armisen, I think, actually.
He's just straight from the Journeys.
Yeah, my eye was drawn to that immediately too. It's pretty fun to watch the people sitting around him while Jeff is talking to. That guy, I don't know who that is in the bottom left corner with the mask, but he has a good time listening to this.
This bill is important and urgently needed, but so is Amendment H 8042. I'm very thankful for the House Education Committee for bringing this bill forward, which removes the tort liability protections of Chapter 669 and Chapter 670 for public entities which choose to violate women's sports. Amendment H 8042 would germanely extend the removal of those liability provisions to any educational institution which offers courses, instruction, or influence to students which reasonably lead a student for the purposes of athletic participation to be confused as to the student's sex or the nature of biological sex as defined in the bill.
So this bill defines sex and gender. And any school that like deviates from that understanding of sex and gender you should be able to sue them. That's what I'm getting from this, right?
That's what I'm getting from it too.
Yep. I don't know. It seems like government overreach.
Yeah. Just a little bit.
Because if my view and what we've been seeing is that if a school district is confusing students, leading them into mental illness with trans-affirming curriculum or queer-affirming curriculum, or concealing symptoms of gender dysphoria from parents, or a host of anything else that's described in this Iowa City Community School District document, if they're doing those things, which would lead a person to reasonably lead a person that a gender dysphoric biological male wishing to or feeling entitled to compete as a woman, I believe they should similarly be disqualified from the liability protections of Chapter 669 and 670. And I think basically to sum up this amendment, all I'm asking for is that our public institutions do not encourage or condone mental illness.
Yeah.
While I...
All right, so... so if
being trans is not the mental illness. Having distress over not being able to get health care is the mental illness.
Right. Not being allowed to be yourself. That's where the mental illness comes from. Right?
Also, the fucking schools are not encouraging your kids to fucking transition.
Right.
Like, what the fuck?
Right. The way he describes it is like the school is brainwashing children into being gay or trans.
By just acknowledging that it's a thing.
Right. By saying, like, yeah, some people experience life in this way, and that, like, we don't need to be denying that at all turns anymore. So yeah, if your school, doesn't oppress its gay students like that, that's encouraging mental illness within them.
I am immensely appreciative of this bill that's been brought forward, and I'm confident that as this amendment is written, or as the bill is written, it will do a lot of good for Iowans. I'm deeply concerned that unless we more comprehensively examine these issues, that these problems will persist and continue to grow worse. This is a complex topic that can be very confusing with ever-evolving terminology and definitions, and sometimes it's very hard to even reach an agreement on the definition of a particular word, such as woman.
What a fucking ass.
Oh, my God.
Oh, man. What a fucking dick.
What a fucking piece of shit. What a fucking, just a fucking monster. This is like, and this is exactly like the like kind of incrementalism in abortion bills, where people will just like let this bullshit go until it ends up like Texas. And that's why I can't stand people like that libertarian dickhead who was talking to me on Twitter.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah, like, fuck you. You can't say, like, oh, this is just about fairness in sports, and then act shocked when we take trans kids away from their loving parents. Because, like, trans people are trying to warn you. Like, every one of these is a tiny piece of, like, getting to the point where we take children away. Mm-hmm. Like,
and
you have to fight every single one. You can't just be like, I don't know.
Yeah. And they're like picking these fights specifically because Democrats are not particularly likely to. They want to force Democrats into defending something like you were talking about how kids don't actually get surgery and all of that, but like most people don't know that, and a lot of people are uncomfortable with anything of the like, and so they want to like push Democrats into defending stuff that they feel like they can't defend. I mean, obviously there's still fucking zealots and religious fundamentalists and all this shit too, but it's like they're just trying to shift the argument in their favor. And
like Democrats just like, I mean, like I will say that like I haven't seen any Democrats I know of in favor of this.
No.
But they're so like credit for that compared to like their usual horseshit.
Right.
But like they don't fight things tooth and nail every step of the way. Like you have to fight this as hard as everything. Like you have to. It has to be full court press on this stuff. Like look at me.
Yeah.
But like it's like. And you have, like, unfortunately, like, I'm sorry that, like, you're too lazy, but, like, you have to educate yourself so you can respond when people come up with this stuff. Like, do you think children should have surgery? Well, obviously they shouldn't. Like, it's like, but you have to, like, you have to familiarize yourself with this and be prepared to fight for trans people, and like you have to educate yourself, and they're just like unwilling to. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I will. Yeah, I didn't include any of the clips of this because I mean I wanted to be hyper focused on Jeff Shipley because he's the biggest idiot here. But credit to the House Democrats, like a lot of them spoke up against what he was trying to do here. There's again, it's like a 3-hour video, but Ross Wilburn, Roz Smith, Liz Bennett. Confirst comes up in a second here in this video. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, they were all like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah. I'm not saying like, yeah, they don't care about the issue, but I think that like Republicans sense that there's a lot of liberals who are uncomfortable talking about this stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. My own representative, Dave Jacoby, also spoke out against this.
I get that, like, it's new to lots of people, and, like, you know, I get why you might be uncomfortable, but, like, tough shit, you have to be, like, you have to educate yourself so that you're not anymore, because our kids need us. Like, it's like, I understand that, like, gender stuff can be overwhelming and confusing, and I understand that, like, I don't know, but also just, like, tough shit. Like, you need to go and, like, learn on behalf of, and, like, yeah, like, the Democrats are not awful on this like they are on other things.
Well,
to be fair.
some of them are, but
some are.
In this case, they seem to be
Liz
doing
Bennett
the right
is
thing.
so great.
Yeah, she's cool.
Yeah.
But the deeper problem needing attention involves the truth of who and what we are as human beings. The more the state of Iowa is aligned with that truth, and the more peace and prosperity that will naturally flow from living healthy, honest lives. Gender dysphoria is a recognized mental illness. And as we acknowledge, the knowledge that we have of this mental illness is limited and unknown, at least according to the World Professional Association of Transgender Health. But some people like to pretend to know that they have all the answers to this complex question.
Some people.
So I guess to aid in the understanding of this topic and just make sure that we're all on the same page of what the problem truly is, I'm going to use some language that we use down in Fairfield.
Yeah. Get excited.
I don't like anything they say down there.
Get excited. This is wild. He's going to be using specific language that they use down in Fairfield, talking about gender and what makes us human.
What are they putting in the water in Fairfield?
Yeah, this. If you thought the Holy Spirit thing was weird, get ready for this.
Vedic terms for this. So, the female anatomy, which makes a woman clearly distinct from all else, is known in Sanskrit as the yoni, which is roughly translated to sacred womb space.
Yoni eggs!
The Sanskrit word for the male anatomy is lingam, which would be roughly translated to wand of light. And while human beings come from and are made of the same source, there exists a clear, dualistic, energetic delineation that is necessary and fundamentally essential to the progenesis of the species. Yes, the biological distinctions between man and woman is a clear, dualistic, energetic delineation that is necessary and fundamentally essential to the progenesis of the species. However, as I'm hearing, there's a lot of confusion still on this topic. So that's what I see as really the problem is we have a lot of young children out there, and they have a sacred womb space, but they're confused and think they have a wand of light. And conversely, there are some children that have a wand of light and think that they're entitled to the same protections of someone with a sacred womb space. Where is this confusion originating from?
Who is this supposed to appeal to?
Yeah, very weird to invoke the Holy Spirit and then start talking about like ancient Hinduism.
That is so weird.
I mean, yeah, I guess it's Fairfield and all, but
yeah,
that is so deranged.
Why?
there are like so many intersex people too.
Right.
Like, this is absurd. This is not true in any scientific sense at all. Like, I mean, people aren't walking around wearing a stamp on their forehead, but like there are so many people who have like any mix of all kinds of parts and chromosomes and feelings and hormones.
Yeah,
and
some people
I mean,
don't even know, right? Like that can just happen.
Yeah, it's
and
the doctor
you
decides
appear,
or their parents decide.
yeah,
totally
and they never
unremarkable.
find. Jeff Shipley could have an ovary. We have no way of knowing for sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start a rumor that Jeff Shipley has an ovary.
He has one ovary, and
his testicles never descended.
His testicles are still up here in his brain. Yeah, I mean,
that is insane.
it's you don't really want like religion having all this influence over the law, right? But it's even like more stark and crazy when he's talking about like sacred womb space and wand of light.
Wand of light. I like that. I like that term.
Yeah, like I don't know, you just sound crazy, man. Like I don't mean to be prejudiced against anyone whose beliefs, you know, include the sacred womb space or whatever. But
yeah, that's right.
So are postmenopausal women with hysterectomies like no longer just like you're just insane?
No longer sacred.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just crazy to talk like this in like a state legislature. I don't want my laws to be based on ancient teachings like this, I don't think.
How is this confusion happening? How can a young person be so confused?
Also, it's so annoying, like how he repeats over and over again, you're confused about what you are. Like, no, like they're not.
You're confused.
Yeah, they're not
They're
confused.
not confused.
They're like figuring themselves out. Fuck you. It's so condescending to everyone that doesn't live like him.
As to reject their fundamental biological nature that is essential to the progenesis of the species. So that's why this amendment is necessary, because unless we address the root cause of why we see gender dysphoria diagnosis rising, and gender dysphoria is a very multifaceted, complex disease with various manifestations that maybe that's not the best word to use. But unless we're really getting to the source of that, these problems are going to persist and grow worse. So yes, gender dysphoria is a mental illness, and when confusion exists within a person, it becomes an energetic distortion that is shown to lead to an extensive list of severe consequences.
State your point.
At some point, are we going to talk about what this amendment does?
The lady from Polk and the gentleman from Harrison approach well.
Oh man, I love that.
Pissed.
Yeah, he's just rambling
As she
about
should
this
be.
crazy shit, and they're like, "Yeah, is this like? Does this have a point?" I have other clips of him. I don't know if we would need to watch all of them. Let me see. This is where he shifts the blame. I'll frame it that way.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the Iowa House, really quick, I just wanted to address a few things that came up.
I should say before he goes on, this is after hours of like every Democratic representative getting on the mic and being like, Jeff Shipley is completely wrong about all of this. and now he's responding.
Representative Smith, I think you're absolutely right that this debate revealed a lot of things and shows the nature of the work at the State House. I was very disappointed members of your party were calling points of order without even reading or knowing the subject matter of the bill. So I think that's...
The people behind him are being fantastic.
State your point.
If we're talking about
The lady
impugning members by
face palming.
implying that we had
Yeah.
not read the bill or did not understand the material, it is impugning my and our integrity.
Representative
That
Comfort.
fucking shrug. He's so smart.
Shrug.
Yeah. Okay, and then one more bit here at the end. This is where he shifts the blame, I think.
Shipley, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My apologies to the ladies and gentlemen of the Iowa House. I was under the mistaken impression that other people's comments were under the rules. I guess the last thing I'll say, I just want to make it very clear where I'm coming from, that when I say gender dysphoria is a mental illness, that's not me saying that. I'm referencing the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition. So I think it just needs to be very, very clear what we're talking about, and for certain leaders to get up and say that such and such gender dysphoria is not mental illness. The Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders says it does. So this is not Representative Shipley's opinion. This is just legislators trying to comprehend the state of psychiatric health in this nation and how to best provide the tender, loving care we need for all individuals, but be clearly recognizing that health is health and illness is illness. And when we confuse the two, it's going to lead to bad consequences. So thank you, and appreciate everyone.
Yeah, no, he's specifically conflating being trans with gender dysphoria.
Yeah.
Obviously. I mean, we've already discussed that, but like,
Intentionally, yeah.
He's absolutely, it's fucking blurring the discussion.
Yeah. I hate
rich
how
for someone with-
condescending he is this whole time. Like, everyone in here who disagrees with me just doesn't know anything about this issue. And I've read the DSM. I've read some outdated version of the DSM. I'm the only one who really knows what's going on here, and everyone else is confused.